All right, let's get right into it. Picture this. You are the President of the United States, out for a nice steak dinner. What could possibly go wrong? Well, this is the story of how a protest group turned a VIP meal into an absolute political firestorm. And how they did it is just wild.
But real quick, if you love getting the full story on stuff like this, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. You are not going to want to miss what's coming up. Yeah, that is what someone screamed just a few feet away from a sitting U.S. president while he was trying to eat his dinner. So the real question isn't just what they shouted, it's how on earth did they get that close in the first place?
No, seriously, think about it. We're talking layers and layers of Secret Service protection. How did a group of activists get a front row seat to the president's dinner? The answer? Well, it's almost ridiculously simple.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're at Joe's Seafood in Washington, D.C. Now, this wasn't just any old dinner. This was a really big deal. It was reportedly the very first time President Trump had ever eaten out in D.C. at a restaurant that he didn't actually own.
And check out this guest list. It was a who's who of his entire administration. You had Trump, his vice president, his secretary of state, and his secretary of defense. I mean, these are some of the most powerful people on the entire planet, all sitting at one table. The security stakes? Through the roof. So how did the protesters manage to breach this inner circle? What was their super complex, high-tech, secret plan? Well, their secret weapon was a dinner reservation. That's it.
The group that pulled this off is called Code Pink. You may have heard of them. They're a well-known activist organization, and they're famous for exactly these kinds of nonviolent but very, very disruptive protests.
So their so-called master plan was so simple, it's actually kind of genius. Step 1, they hear the president's eating out. Step 2, they just call the restaurant and make a reservation. And then, unbelievably, Step 3, they get seated right next to the presidential table. You know, even the organizers couldn't believe it. Here's a direct quote from Olivia DeNucci of Code Pink. She said they fully expected the president to be tucked away in some private room. But nope, there he was, just out in the open, a few tables away. Okay, so they've got their shockingly good seats. The moment is here. That simple dinner reservation was about to turn into a full-blown international incident. According to the activists, it was a direct, face-to-face confrontation. They stood up, and they said President Trump looked right at them. There was no buffer, no distance. They had his undivided attention. And that was the whole point. Their mission wasn't just to be heard. It was, in their words, to make sure the president couldn't have a peaceful meal, while they felt his policies were causing chaos elsewhere. So what exactly were they shouting? A whole volley of chants started echoing through the restaurant. Free D.C., free Palestine, and stop terrorizing communities, all at the top of their lungs. Now, as you can probably imagine, the second this happened, the spin machines kicked into high gear. Two completely different versions of what happened started spreading almost instantly.
And this is where the story just splits right in two. The official White House social media posted a video making it seem like the president was greeted with cheers, completely ignoring the protest part. But at the exact same time, footage from places like CNN clearly showed other people in the restaurant booing the activists. It's like two different realities from the very same dinner.
Okay, so a dinner got interrupted. What's the big deal? Why does this one single event even matter? Well, because it tells us so much about protest and power and how stories are told in our world today.
So what are the big takeaways here? First, that a simple, bold idea can be way more effective than some complicated plan. The protesters literally just used the restaurant's own rules against them. Second, we saw a real-time war over the narrative. Was it cheers or was it boos? It all depended on whose video you watched. It also showed how surprisingly vulnerable these supposedly secure spaces can be. And maybe the wildest part? This whole thing was sparked because a reporter asked Trump why he never ate out in D.C. One little question set off all this chaos.
So, when you boil it all down, what was this? Was it brilliant political theater that got a message straight to the person at the top? Or was it just really rude and a step too far when it comes to public behavior?
I honestly want to know what you think. Was this a totally legitimate form of protest, or did they cross a line? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And that is the story of how a simple dinner reservation made headlines all over the world. If you like this breakdown, please hit that like button and definitely subscribe for more explainers that get right to the point. Thanks for watching.